And we're live.
I'll turn it backwards.
Are we live? Are we really? Can you see
it
on the YouTube? Nice.
Okay.
Well, okay, here's the thing. This is kind of a unique position. It's a complete reversal from last week.
Unique positions, he said. There we go.
No unique positions, Don.
There we go.
My God. Last week, it started off with just David and I was completely weirded out because we've never had just two people starting out the show. And now we have two people who I wasn't expecting to be able to make it joining us tonight for Loki's Midweek Mischief. Thank you all for hanging out. We have, let me just get through everybody right now. We're going to be talking about Loki episode 3 airing this morning on Disney Plus, the Marvel Disney show. So we have Mike Crowley of You'll Probably Agree. We have Don Shanahan of 25 Years Later and the Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast, and Every Movie Has a Lesson, and God knows what else. We have David Fowley of Keeping It Real, and we have Mark, the Movie Man Krawcheck from the Spoiler Room and Special Mark Productions. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm, of course, Ian Simmons. Okay, we have our first comment tonight. From let's see, from Secure Immature T. Jesus Christ, Don.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm in an empty place. I moved today, so this is my old place empty. There's a modable lamp, a vacuum, and a carpet.
This is his ode to Burt Reynolds in the 70s. When he had his
I need this. I need the.
My mother had that. My mother had that on the back of her door in her bedroom. Okay,
I would tattoo that to my ass if I could. I love that picture of Bert. It's awesome.
Yes, she hung it on the back of the door.
And it was, let me tell you guys, it was well hung. Anyway, so tonight,
that's what I'm talking about. There we go.
Tonight, because Mike Crowley has just as of a few minutes ago finished watching Loki episode 3. Mike, you because it was suggested before we jumped on live, you get to give the synopsis for Lamentus episode 3.
Yeah,
Loki, you.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Oh dear God! All right, so basically, what happened is in the last episode of Loki, we finally find out who this variant is that's going around and killing all these TVA cops. And it turns out to be a female Loki. And there was a note that Dave made 2 weeks ago that I wanted to say. He said something like Loki can change sexes. And I'm like, oh, so that's
Lucky.
what it is. Yeah. And what happens is they go to an apocalypse through their portals after fighting through the TVA and to Lamentus, and they try to take a train to get away from there. And from there, the female Loki, who ends up being called, or as she identifies herself as Sylvia, has some sort of plan set up, which I didn't know what the plan was, and Loki ruined it, and then he ruined the thing where they can get out of that apocalypse, and now they're stuck in this planet that sort of looks like the street level of Coruscant, that they're chasing each other over in episode 2, you could tell from the purple alien writing on the wall and stuff like that. And now they're stuck there and the apocalypse is happening, and are they gonna die? No, because they still have 4 more episodes. But interesting way to leave off. Definitely a cliffhanger where the clip was blown up.
Well, okay, a few things there. We have 3 more episodes left. We are halfway there. We are living on a prayer. Also, and we'll keep this spoiler free for the first few minutes, just while we give our opinions. I mean, Mike, I don't think you gave too much away, but I just want to say, given what we find out about some of the characters in this show, I don't know that it's unreasonable to expect that they might die. And we could figure out what that exactly means, because I'm sure curious, but we'll get more into that in the spoiler section. So just overall, and since we have a full house here, we'll just kind of go, everybody can jump in, but let's try not to talk over each other. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What are our impressions of episode 3 where we are halfway through? Oh, Don is giving the thumbs down. That is your cue. Go, sir.
This episode bored me to tears.
You say Gozer?
Oh, Gozer? No.
Go, sir. Yes. He is the keymaster.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. And I'm the gatekeeper.
Way to get a knee
I
up.
feel like I need bubble wrap as a costume and some really great eye makeup.
Or Slave Leia.
I would take that too. I need a little guy laughing in the corner.
Yeah.
Anyway, there it is. You guys are really good at that.
You want some death sticks?
No, this episode bored me to tears. They had such momentum going with the arrival of female Loki, and you have
call her by the name you gave her last episode. That was really good. She Loki.
Correct.
Now that I know her name is Sylvie, much like Grogu, I just want to go by what they were calling her before, like Baby Yoda and She Loki.
Sure. No, but episode 2 had such momentum with the big, the chase, and you finally encounter each other, and you get to that moment where Loki makes that decision to chase down that portal, and what do? They kind of mosey on this, apocalyptic planet and don't really do anything but sing, drink, and wait around. I was bored to tears in this episode. Don't get me wrong. We call that character development in the biz, and that's fine. And we learn a little bit about Shaloki, and we learn a little bit about Loki. But I feel like we're getting to a maybe. I feel like we're getting to a saturation point where it's just Tom being, just doing the same Loki shtick, where I'm gonna, be crass and talk my way through it, but then be very condescending about who I am and what I am, and he just keeps doing that, and he does it over and over in this episode, and screws up the stuff that he does, and I just, after the momentum of episode 2 and the culmination point, and maybe it's the lack of Owen Wilson in this episode, but this feels like, I'm not the Mandalorian guys that you guys are, but this feels like absolute filler. Bored to tears.
Well, I just got to get a couple of reactions here from the chat, because it's popping off. Okay, so Sajua is joining us from NYC for a bit. Welcome. Okay, episode. The teaming up thing is not done too well. Also, doesn't Loki have powers to jump from place to place?
Right.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Then he also said it's the romantic comedy episode of Loki, and I think Mark, you put this in the chat earlier, that Loki is only in love with himself. So you could say that every episode is a romantic comedy. Yeah. Two Lokis getting to know each other, early love, and.
You forgot
again from our good friend Secure Mature IT Rolls Eyes, typical Don, an episode with layered characterization and deliberate pacing is boring.
This is Philo dough. This is the baklava of
I like that guy.
This ain't shit. I like that guy too. He's really shitty on Friday episodes of podcasts, let me tell you.
Well,
you
there you
still
go.
Show up though.
He's your fan. Is
this your co-host?
This is Will Johnson, the co-host of Cinephile Hizzy Fit.
Welcome, Will. Big fan. I didn't recognize you behind the screen name.
You know what? I don't recognize him behind his screen names either, so that's typical.
Wow. Okay, so all right. Now, Don, that was a very good summation. Good, lots of stuff to chew on there. Yeah. David, what did you think of part 3?
I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people are going to use the F word. Filler.
No. Okay, good, because we're trying to keep it family friendly.
I was, again, as I've said before, I've been pretty blown away with the production design and the art direction here. And
he found out my nickname.
This was really cool just to see like all these, like a lot of the colors were really like purple, blue, and there's like neon signs and stuff. I got Snowpiercer, Blade Runner vibes. I enjoyed it just because, look, Loki doesn't know where he's going, and he just wants to possibly team up with somebody who he thinks knows what she's doing. But he really doesn't. He's out of his element, even though he's trying to make it his element. But it's just not working. So it's one of those out of the frying pan episodes. And I just love the visuals and the world building.
Slow cooker.
Nice.
You had your chance there, buddy. And now it looks like you're sitting on a dunce chair in the toilet. So there you go. Yeah, that would be great. Do that. Brain aneurysm.
What's the point of all those push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody lung? Sorry.
There we go.
All right, so you like the production design is still a winner for you, David.
Aww.
Yeah, and I did like the conversations. I mean, you could call this episode the "What Is Love" episode. And Baby Don't Hurt Me. I enjoyed. I think like this gives us the most amount of time so far with Sylvie, and I think
she was introduced in the last 2 minutes of the first.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you do all that math yourself, Dave?
Nice.
Did you use a sundial or a stopwatch?
We're going to keep this civil, guys. No fighting on the Loki show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's Bill Johnson?
Okay, so yeah, I mean that's there's something about this show, and I'm just going to jump in here for a second because I'm picking up on while I was watching it, I was picking up on something that David is getting to. Is we have these. It's almost kind of a part of the formula or the format of the show. The middle portion is just these sit downs with these characters that we're getting to know. There's long dialogue scenes, and I think it's really cool. And I wasn't quite sure what to make of Sylvie at the beginning, but them getting to sit down and really talk to each other. I really like the fact that, and I don't really see this much in TV, her character yawns. It almost comes off like a mistake, like they caught it during filming and just kind of went with it, but she yawns, and it kind of works its way into the story, but it's just so natural that you kind of forget you're watching scripted television. But yeah, sorry, David, go ahead and finish up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one thing I feel like I didn't really need is, and this may be surprising, is, some of these action sequences. It's like, okay, I feel like, yes, we've seen Loki in action. Yeah, and it was nice to have the daggers back and everything. But, with Sylvie parkouring over the place and that hallway scene and everything, I felt like it almost felt a little bit like obligatory. I feel like these characters would think their way out of an action scene instead of actually engaging in action. And that would have been more interesting. And I don't know. I think it seems like the first 2 episodes, Loki's been kind of either his powers have been dampened or he couldn't use them in the TVA. And I guess now he can because he's outside of the TVA. I'm not sure. We saw him use powers that we didn't know we had. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, this was a cool little like midway kind of, I guess, a detour in a way of,
Sure.
We're outside the TVA. He followed her. He doesn't know where that she's going, and then we learn more about her, but also this world that's about to be destroyed. I found it pretty fascinating, and I'm all for this, kind of crazy sci-fi aesthetic. So, thumbs up for me.
All right. How about you, Mark?
I was kind of middle of the road on this. I didn't think it was boring, but I will say of the 3 episodes we have so far, this one, it really slowed the pace down more than expected. The way it was rolling, especially the way it ended, the episode 2, you're thinking, okay. And there is the banter between Sylvie and Loki. We learned some, but not really a whole lot about Sylvie. And the Loki stuff, while we do get the conversation between them, we've had Loki, and this is, I think, the disadvantage of having a character run 10 years through the movies. We don't see anything really new from Loki yet. We see him giving his, feelings about his mom. We know that. We know the magician. And now I know he's sharing it with Sylvie, but they do just a very brief moment to where he's trying to find out about Sylvie's mom, but that falls short because she goes, oh, well, I didn't really know it. Where that could have been possibly an opportunity of getting a different perspective of Loki from another universe, if she is actually from that, which I'm not going to go into that now with spoilers. My son, he's far better, quicker with the Google and such, and he came up with a theory about this character that I'm sure we'll talk about in spoilers, but I did like the character moments in that. But as far as growing Loki, I think one thing we do agree is he's not at the TVA yet. He still seems neutered. Like we said, he could teleport anywhere. In fact, he grabbed the Tesseract and teleported to other side of the world. You're telling me that at the end of this, he showed fireworks and that, but it's like, and he was drunk up until a point, but he's not now. And it's just like, what are they doing with him? Did he forget his power? Because there were a few Loki powers we've seen over the past 10 years that would have helped them greatly in this episode that we never see. And I will say this, I agree with my son. The TVA has the worst soldiers in the entire history of sci-fi soldiers ever. They have one move with the stick and it misses and they're done. These guys aren't highly trained soldiers. They're guys put in suits. Most of them don't. Their main resolution is do the reset bomb. That's their ultimate thing. They don't want to fight. They don't because they can't fight. And we've seen it time and again. These guys are getting their butts kicked. And in going to the spoilers, we kind of now know why. But overall, I mean, it was an okay episode. I did feel like it was a little bit of filler. I thought there were some opportunities missed. Overall, I was with David. I liked the aesthetic. I liked the sci-fi feel. It's why I liked Thor. The idea of Thor is us doing some sci-fi stuff in your superhero movies. And I am curious to see where they go from here, the way they ended this. That kept me interested. But as far as if you compare it as the series goes so far, it kind of hits some tar on the sidewalk as far as moving just about everything along. It kind of holding pattern.
I've never heard that expression before, but I think I'm going to work that into my lexicon. Tar on the sidewalk. That's perfect. Mike, round it out. Bring it home for us here.
So it's funny because like I was trying to process everything I saw, because I just saw it. But it does seem like it kind of shows how limited some of the writing is when it comes to nuance with a lot of Disney stuff. Because like when they're having their sort of my dinner with Andre moment, they're kind of just covering the same territory. And it's like, well,
as my dinner with Andre?
Yeah, exactly. that movie's so overrated. No, I'm kidding.
Inconceivable.
I'm kidding. I actually like that movie.
Did you cover your ears? No.
I saw it for the first time a few days, a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty good movie. Yeah. But I wasn't like, it's amazing. But yeah. But anyways, having said that, when they get through all the talking stuff, you can tell they're just filling up time with the fighting, and these soldiers are basically like stormtroopers. They're just expendable, Especially, I don't know if I can give away. Can we hit the spoilers button? But nah.
Right after you're done.
Yeah, but no.
Well, why not?
So these soldiers, these TVA guys, are just all variants. Everyone's variants. Yeah. Maybe there's a Delta in there. I'm not sure. But overall, I got to say, though, overall, it was just kind of like, okay. I didn't feel like it was totally filler. But at the same time, it was sort of like a filler episode where I was okay with that. But I will say that they kind of misled you at the end of the second episode. They're opening up the portals. You're going, oh my God, the multiverse, it's going to happen. And then there's like, no, we're going to be on this planet where asteroids fall for about an hour. But I will say, I haven't seen a show where an episode ends where people are running around like fighting people during the apocalypse and explosions are going everywhere. And you just have this beautiful like, you're not going to get that. That's a Disney money, baby. And with that, you get sort of an unfair like field advantage, I guess you could say. But I had fun with it. But yeah, I mean, I would give this like a 3 out of 4. If anything.
That's still pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's still good. It's not. I'm not gonna say, oh, because it wasn't what I wanted it to be, it's ultimately bad. Like, I do appreciate the fact that they do try to have some nuance in it, even if it's a little bit limited.
Well, cool. Well, I was going to say, before we go further, I'm going to have to bounce someone from the show, either from the chat or from the stream here, just because Will wants to let us know he's finally found his mortal enemy as written by Destiny. So you guys have it out over in the corner, and we'll continue to talk Loki.
It's funny you mentioned that, Will, because Destiny is a Marvel character.
And Destiny also turned up the radio.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a
excellent
reference from like
singer.
32 years ago.
He's also an excellent singer.
Whoa.
But who's Destiny's child? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It could be anybody. It's probably not
Hey guys,
JC.
I got some walls. Do you want to see what sticks? You guys keep throwing shit, okay? Go ahead. All empty. Look at this place. Look at there we go. Woo.
Wow.
Don't, Don. I'm afraid
we
we're
just
going to see
stop?
something. So just stay still,
Yeah.
please.
I'm not wearing a kilt. I'm not that Irish. Okay, don't worry.
Wow. All right. So I'm going to give just some brief thoughts. I enjoyed this episode. I agree. I think that the action was the weakest part of it, mostly because in that apocalyptic scene at the very end, which I love the way the episode ended, but they're running around. They've gotten off the train. They walked. They got to this kind of city where there's a shuttle that's supposed to take off and save the rich people, essentially. And all the poor people of this planet are clamoring to get on the shuttle. We've seen this kind of in other movies, most notably 2012, I think. The movie, not the year. But when they're running from place to place, they're brawling with people. They're escaping the cops. They're dodging these meteors. Much like a lot of the effects in this episode, I agree it looked great conceptually, but I could just tell these were two actors like walking around on a green screen set. And at that very end, it's like, okay, we've got kind of a big room, but not a giant room. So, okay, there's a meteor coming at you. Run to this corner. Now circle back around and run over here and punch this person, then run to that corner. It's a building and you can hide in there until the other meteor comes. It's just so small scale. It felt very cramped. Although I did love the fact that the one of the giant space rocks blew up their ride, and Loki's just kind of left staring in awe up at his imminent doom. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a big reset episode in part 4. Like, wouldn't it be cool if they died and we find out what that means in the world of the TVA? We do find out. Now, again, you can't trust anything in this show. No. So when Sylvie says, I think it's she who breaks it to Loki, that everybody's a replicant or a variant. David, you put Blade Runner in my head. And now I can't get it out.
Right.
But okay, because it starts
off
off
that
with
on vinyl. I'm sure he just drop that in.
Yes, he does. I'm sure. But okay, the episode begins with Sylvie having drinks, cocktails with the guard that she had apprehended in the previous episode, Sasha Lane. It sounds like an adult film actress.
That could be.
You watch a lot of adult film to get that.
Like Sasha Banks.
Sasha Lane. She was in American Honey. She was in Hearts Beat Loud. Mm-hmm. She's a nice little actress.
Yeah. Oh, two movies I have not seen. I was thinking of
Hearts Beat Loud, by the way. Just sidebar.
Maybe.
Love it.
Okay, so but they're having this conversation, and Sylvie's trying to pry information out of her, and later it turns out that she was actually from Earth from a few hundred years ago. She said, if I picked up that reference correctly. So the idea is that the timekeepers Loki was led to believe had created everything in the TVA. That is apparently not true. So how much of this is an illusion? And could this be another WandaVision situation where I think I postulated this last week? Loki is just kind of in his own, someone is containing him in this little city in a glass jar, kind of a scenario. Maybe there's a couple other real people running around there. But I think, there's that criticism of the talking scene, and I don't, people don't think a lot was revealed about Sylvie or Loki. I can kind of see that, but I think overall the premise of this show is giving us insight into Loki just because we're catching up with him in a situation he's never really been in before. He's always the guy, or he likes to think he's the guy pulling the strings, manipulating people, causing harm to innocents. Now, he's not innocent, but he is the one who is caught up in the scheme of someone else, someone he has no control over, someone he can't even really see. And so watching him react to that, and this is a very reactive show. It's a very subjective show, which is something I brought up last week. It's not the most exciting thing to watch all the time, but I just think as an idea, it's really fascinating. Now, I am behind on some of these comments here, so we're going to go to Mr. Mosby. Loki and Sylvie's banter felt extremely forced. Was hoping their banter would reveal more about character, but sadly, we don't get much.
Excellent insight, Mr. Mosby.
I can see that, but I also think that, it could be that we get the end of episode 6 and we look back and say, yeah, that was a really squandered opportunity. Or we could say, man, the conversation they have in episode 5 that links back to their discussion in episode 3 really drove point X home. So it's a bit too early for me to say that it was just, not worth very much. Because Marvel is very good at planting seeds. I am thinking of Sasha Grey.
You know what?
Well,
leave it to my co-host to fact check the porn in the world. Thank you very much.
Well, okay, Sasha Grey or
Sure.
Chasey Lane was another adult film actress. Neither of whom is Sasha Lane.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Oh God, yeah, that's why I have seen a movie with her, and although I would not actually qualify that as a movie because she was in Hellboy, the one with Stranger Things guy in it. Let's see.
Mr. Black Widow.
Extraction.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we are firmly in spoiler territory. So where do we want to go from here, guys? I mean, we've talked the synopsis.
Now? Ow, where do we go?
You guys are all the Marvel experts.
So you're going to leave and fight it out with Will. I get it.
No. I mad respect for someone who I just put DC Shill because of Mr. Mike Crowley and his comments. So I had to put that in there just because mad respect for the shot fired. I enjoy that. But what I will say is my son, like I said, he really dug in when we were looking at watching the characters in that. And I'm not that familiar with the MCU, but naming her Sylvie, and you guys can definitely correct me or fill me in, appears to open up possibly a door to something that may play into it, but I might be giving the writers too much credit. Sylvie was a character that was created by a Loki that was given some powers.
Yeah.
And just to mess, because that's how Loki is. So I was thinking the way she plays it off too, that she's not exactly a Loki. She identifies herself as Sylvie. What if she isn't actually a Loki variant?
I don't think she is.
I don't think she is.
She was just created by a Loki in another timeline, say.
Mm-hmm.
And Enchantress. Because she was created by Loki, she gives whatever vibe or whatever that makes them think she's a variant because she looks very similar to the part and everything. And so they think she's a Loki when she's really not. And there's another Loki going about. And he said, what if at the beginning of the next episode, a third Loki comes in, now that you've got all the branches from the bombs, who has his own plan and rescues these two Lokis for his own personal plan, because he's the one that may have created Sylvie all along. And so now you have three different Lokis, three different agendas, but all are pointing to getting to the timekeepers.
That third Loki will be played by Evan Peters. You heard it here first.
Or Matt Damon, one of the two.
But no, that's an interesting theory about the multiple Lokis, and I wonder if that is, again, they make such a big deal out of the title sequence of this show, the different fonts flashing in front of you to show the different Loki variants. I wonder if that's possible. I mean, hell, we could end up with like 32 Lokis at the end of this. I think one of the important things about the conversation in the middle of this episode, even though not a lot is revealed, we do get the sense that Sylvie, Loki, is a character who does have a past. She does have an agenda. She has an idea. She has ideas. She is an actually fully fleshed out character. In the first episode, I think it was, we get to see the little holographs of the different Lokis, and they're kind of funny because, like, oh, this guy's he's like a Hulk Loki, and this guy looks like, he's wearing armor or something. They're meant as like little kind of what if, variants, for lack of a better term. We don't think of them as characters and having their own realities. This is a way of showing, if she is in fact a Loki variant, that there are all these multiverses, alternate realities out there with these characters running around. I mean, she probably had, there is a version of her Thor running around who could have been, a woman or a giant tiger or something like that. It's what they don't say in this dialogue. I'm more tuned in to that and what I'm thinking about, like what it means, just the fact of who they are. And in fact, I know this is the internet has been on fire because I think Mary Herron, the director?
Yes.
Okay. She, she came out and has said that, one of the things she wanted to do with this character was announce in the show that Loki is bisexual. And that is something that, because that's what she is. And she wanted to have that representation in the show. A lot of people have different opinions about that. The way I thought about it is Loki is this kind of a godlike creature, and especially with the idea of variance and the topic of love and him never really being able to connect. This gets a little bit more outside the realm of pure sexuality, but if he has been struggling to find someone that he can connect with throughout all of time and space in his various adventures, it doesn't surprise me that he would not shut himself off to, I'm getting a chasing Amy territory really, but that he would not shut himself off to any possibilities out there. And perhaps that's a quality that is shared among all of the variants of Loki's, because Sylvie says that she intimates that she may have swung that way, or both ways, as it were, and Tom Hiddleston's Loki doesn't deny it either. So it was just a kind of, with all the hubbub surrounding it and the like, oh, this is terrible, or oh, this is great. I think people are missing what this could actually mean for the character.
I thought you meant the big news that the director had recently admitted that, sadly, at no point in the show are we going to hear Owen Wilson say, wow.
I know, right?
You might still.
She recently actually confirmed that in an interview, and it's like,
Okay.
Oh.
I'd be very okay with that.
But just real quick, Mark, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It's your show. I'll shut up.
It's our show, Mark. Ours. You're on here too. At no point do I trust anything coming out of the mouths of people representing movies or TV shows. Thank you, James Cameron. But I next episode is going to open up with Mobius in the TVA watching the imminent destruction of this planet with Loki and Sylvie on it, and he's going to go, wow. And that's how it opens. Okay, so Mark, you were going to say
the one thing, the idea with the love and Loki, why I said, I made the comment that Loki could really only love himself. So I guess there's kind of I could see why he is somewhat attracted to Sylvie. The only thing is, what we've seen from Loki, there has never been any indication whatsoever in his character, even a hint, that he doesn't think of anything but his own plan, and he doesn't have a room for a romantic thing. He holds on to his love for his mom. He has that and her approval, and the one woman he really respects. And when he finds out she's dead, you could tell that really affected him. At the same time, this love attraction, while I get maybe they're trying to give another layer to Loki, felt a little bit like very abrupt to come out to imply this attraction, because at no time in any relationship, and I'm not saying that's not a reason to not do it, it's just the way it comes out in this conversation. I agree, it kind of felt forced, like very abrupt, like suddenly he's kind of they're having this conversation of what love actually is. And I'm just sitting here going, given what Loki, is this the actual Loki that we know? Because I was thinking about it while all of you fine gentlemen were talking. This Loki actually is a very early version of Loki that we get.
Right.
He hasn't gone through the grinder that the other Loki that we end with at Endgame really is.
Right.
So
I keep forgetting that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Loki.
Yeah.
This is 2012 Loki, who has a different approach to things and is still kind of more thinking of himself. So I thought it was kind of cool and it made sense. But at the same time, I'm like, you're going here now with this Loki. And then again, since he did create a branch, what if this isn't actually the Loki that we've seen in our actual MCU phase 3, but the variant that they mentioned? He's not just a variant to the TVA and everyone else. He's a variant to us who have experienced Loki throughout the MCU.
That's a very interesting point. Like, I'll go a step further. Maybe this is the wavelength that you're on, but would the show be bold enough to say at the end of episode 2, Loki jumps through that portal, and then on the other side of it, we're watching a variant who jumped through the other side, chasing a variant of the variant She-Loki?
And the actual Loki just like falls onto the spikes from like the stage pit of Mortal Kombat and dies.
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
Mark, I'm also curious to see what you think of this. Are you implying that Loki, the greatest love of his life, really was his mom, and the reason he was so upset when she died is because he never got the chance to ask her out?
No, I am not
Rene Russo
implying.
is a fox.
I
okay.
am not implying that far, though they are Greek. So never mind.
I wouldn't put it past them. It's true.
That is
I'm
an
gonna
ass
trick
backwards
myself
point of
right
view.
here.
No.
Greek mythology
Yeah.
has that theme running. That's
know
what
what
I
we're
meant
gonna
by
miss.
that.
Yes, I do.
That's very yeah.
Mhm.
Richard E.
All right,
Grant.
So
is,
Richard E.
yeah.
Grant is listed as being in 3 episodes.
Cool.
There are 3 episodes left.
Mhm.
So let's see
Better
what
show
happens.
up here, buddy.
Yeah. But I think the whole point of Loki is like I think we're going to know like I think they're gonna fool us in the end. It's not gonna be Loki we think it is, as you guys
Right.
are saying. Because the whole point is foolery and trickery and they're gonna trick the audience. Like
Well,
obviously.
And the other key thing is the past 2 Disney shows have led into something. It's going to affect something. We know that WandaVision is affecting Doctor Strange too. That's for sure. We know that Falcon Winter Soldier is leading into Captain America 4 with Anthony Mackie headlining. Where's this going to go? I've heard rumors that this could lead to Secret Wars, and not just Secret Invasion, but Secret Wars. This could develop even further, maybe Young Avengers, even though that's been planted from WandaVision and everything. Sylvie is a character who was integral to a lineup of the Young Avengers. I don't think she was an original member, but so it's very interesting to out of all. Well, I mean, I say out of all, but this has only been the 3rd series for Disney Plus. But I think this could be probably the one series where we really don't know what's coming. I mean, we had an idea with Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm like, all right, well, I mean, Sam Wilson's going to be wearing the suit and wings and blah, blah, blah. Because we know that that's what happened in the comics. And we know that that's what Steve Rogers would have wanted.
Right.
We know there are a lot of comics that have influenced WandaVision. As far as the comics that have influenced this show, I mean, really, there's only as far as TVA, there's been some obscure Thor issues. There's been some not obscure, but kind of like a limited run from Walter Simonson in Fantastic Four with the TVA. But other than that, this is kind of freewheeling Loki, and that's what's cool about it, is that you can do so much with this character. The writers know it. And I would say maybe within the past 10 or 15 years, at least since 2012's Avengers, in the comics they've been doing a lot more with Loki. So maybe in a way there's some influences here, but I think what the cool thing about this show is that it is not necessarily relying on specific storylines from the books.
I just like to think that the tie-in to the greater MCU is that somehow they're going to cross paths with the Eternals and make that movie interesting. Anyway, let's go back to the chat. Because
that
it's lighting up.
This is DC shill. That didn't come from the DC shill here. So I just like to specify.
Hey, I go both ways, Mark. I'm DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay,
just like
so
Loki, he goes both ways.
That's right. I agree with Sajua. Loki eventually learned self-sacrifice in Ragnarok and Infinity War. The 2012 Loki will have to learn that lesson too. It could be a tough sacrifice or a trough sacrifice. Yeah, totally. Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I like that trough sacrifice. Sacrifice for Sylvie.
Hey, he's talking like a Midwestern true sacrifice.
He's a Phoenix, Arizona guy right there. Yeah.
No, that's a really cool point. Or in the comic book Eternalism style, he sacrifices himself and is somehow reborn because of his sacrifice. Something like that. Okay.
I feel like we learned that TV workshop.
Yeah, this is great, though. We learned that TVA agents are variants who actually had lives prior to being indoctrinated. Does this bring into question Sylvie's character and her moral compass? Maybe. Oh, sorry. That was I don't know if you could hear that. It's not the game show buzzer. It's my laundry.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Mosby, because the whole idea was indoctrinated a word that was used in the show to describe people who were brought into the TVA. I feel like it was, but I might have missed it.
You mean in the previous episodes?
No, in this one, because when Sylvie mentions that, like that one agent was on Earth a few hundred years ago before she was indoctrinated into the TVA.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's some kind of brainwashing, or were they recruited, like, come hang out here. If Mobius isn't, if he thinks that he was created, by the TVA, maybe that means that they were mind wiped and kind of reprogrammed or something. And yeah, as far as Sylvie, we don't know anything about her. And as you continue in your next point, she did lure and brutally murder agents. So, and that's another excellent point, because there is sort of a disconnect between this snarky adventurer, banter prone villain we have hanging out with Loki in this episode, and the shadowy figure we see jumping through time, yes, luring agents to these certain points and attacking and killing them, and then planting these time bombs. So she's cool and everything, and we get to see a bit more of her in this episode, but she's really got a dark mean streak to her.
Unless she has no problems doing it because they're variants and not the real people in the main storyline. She doesn't care that she's wiping these people out because she knows they're all variants, just indoctrinated. So, it's kind of like, attacking clone. You're a clone, you're not the real one, and you're just killing, these puppets, these drones without think.
I understand that. My only, and this might get back into a Star Wars philosophical question that I don't know has been answered. I have not been keeping up in the Bad Batch, unfortunately, Mike. So forgive me for my ignorance. But clones, I understand they were all cloned off of Jango Fett, right? Do they have lives? Do they eat breakfast with their clone families, or are they literally just bodies that are smart enough to kind of aim and shoot weapons?
So the answer is they used to not be,
right?
And then Dave Filoni came in and fixed that, and then made them more layered and gave them lives and purpose, and rather than just a bunch of clones shooting robots. And yeah, if you see the Bad Batch now, I think that show is going to be about the extermination of the clone race. So yeah, because the first Death Star. Yeah.
Well, because getting back to what Mark was saying, if Sylvie only considers these, they're just variants. They're variants, but that just means that they are people who are on alternate timelines. They're still people with fully fleshed out lives and beliefs and dreams. But it's an interesting point. If that's the way that she sees them, that kind of adds a more monstrous layer to her personality. Like, oh, you're not even real. But they're like, I am real.
I mean, wouldn't that be the same way that she sees him? Because he's supposed to be a variant. So then what is she? Is she not a variant?
And Loki kind of sees her, as far as we know, as a variant version of her, but he's taking her more seriously, I think, because he realizes that there is something of me in her.
But he's only seeing her as that because that's what he's been told.
Exactly, yeah.
So yes, she's wearing the little horn thing and everything, and yeah, she's got the kind of green armor and stuff and everything. But she even kind of fends off the idea of her being a Loki. Like, don't call me that. I'm not that. This is who I am. So obviously, hopefully, we'll get more of her story, her real story, and why she doesn't want to be called a Loki. And it's funny because even in this episode, this is one of the, I guess we're getting into more, we're spending more time with the idea of the discussion of a Loki. It's not just a person, it's, it could be a version, a variety of Lokis, but, we're now hearing them referred to a Loki. Okay. I am not a Loki, so, and it's funny because I would think that, Hiddleston's character would be more taken aback by that. It's like, why are you saying a Loki? I'm Loki. It's like, because to him, he's the only Loki. And so
you don't think he's spazzing enough with the whole existence of Shaloki?
I don't know if he really believes that that's, that's him. Or
she's still falling for it.
Yeah.
Well, and she's
episode about referring to her as him.
And she's I was going to say leading him on, but she's not doing herself any favors if she doesn't want to be called Loki, because she's manifested with the damn golden crown with the horn and the kind of the green outfit. So it's like, if you don't want to be Loki, why are you dressing like?
Might be part of her plan. Yeah.
Mike, you said
she has a plan, but we don't know what that plan is. And I'm sure right now she's making him think that he ruined her plan, but she's got something else planned for him and the audience. How many times did I just say plan? But anyways,
well, it gets back to something you said earlier, Mike, is because this is Loki, it's going to be mischief and twists and turns.
Yeah.
I wonder if the ultimate twist and turn is that there are no twists and turns. It really is going to be, it's kind of like when we were trying to figure out the Mephisto thing. Like, no, seriously, guys, believe us. This is a straightforward story. Evan Peters is not Quicksilver. He's a guy named Dick Johnson or whatever the hell his name was.
Well, that's where I'm at, Rob. I'm really just because this show has been fascinating, interesting, and I'm still there. Even though this was a down episode for me, I'm still want to know where it goes. But I'm really trying not to do that exact thing we did with WandaVision and read into everything. Like, I haven't watched the videos that you guys send in the chat. I haven't done a lot of homework. I'm trying to let stuff come to me. I don't get the romantic vibe of this at all. I think it's just more gamesmanship and the mischief thing. And I know you could go down all these rabbit holes, but I just won't. I'm gonna let the show come to me, even through an episode like this. But still, I don't know.
Yeah, and like with all these shows, we're not going to really appreciate it or understand it until it's all over. So I want to get
that in mind. Is everyone happy that we're getting these week to week, or would you rather binge?
Oh, week to week.
I like the week to week. Yeah,
me too. Me too.
Yeah, I think it's especially with shows like this. I don't know how it would work as a bingeable thing because Marvel packs so much into every hour. I mean, this episode was. I didn't know how long this conversation was going to go, mostly because I thought there might be 2 or 3 of us in the room, but also because it's the shortest episode we've had so far. It's like 36 minutes, really, plus credits. But even we've been talking for longer than the episode actually went on for about all the stuff that's going on in here. So yeah, I agree that the half-hour thing or the weekly thing is the way to go. Now, I do want to get to real quick to Will's comment here because I'm a little behind in the chat, but Ken could also make an appearance or at least be referenced as he is appearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which I love that title. Kang at least maybe mentioned. We did talk about it a bit last week with Gugu Mbatha-Raw's character in the comics being related to or having a relationship with Kang. So I think we're all on the lookout for that. The ultimate twist is Luke Skywalker shows up on his X-Wing to save the 2 Lokis.
Now we're talking.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think there's only room for there's one cockpit and the little droid hatch, so someone's gonna have to fight it out to not be left behind.
Man, why is there only one seat in here?
Left behind. Kirk Cameron's gonna show up.
Well, it is an apocalypse drama.
Or is that Nick Cage? Sorry.
Nick Cage will show up in Unknown. He'll get the number. So.
Are we ever going to get Nicolas Cage to the MCU?
That would be awesome. Well,
we did. He was. I was going to say he was Knight Rider. No, he was Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to bring Ghost Rider back.
I would love him as Knight Rider. Hey, kid, we're going to go to this situation.
Dude, I want us to all.
The voice of Kit then, if you're going to pair him up with something, David.
Hey,
Gilbert Gottfried.
Sure. Hit the eject button. Oh, yeah, just go ahead. Oh my God.
Wow. No, I think
we got Gilbert. Nice job, y'all.
The internet needs to crowdfund a tuna fish sandwich so we can pay Nicolas Cage to be in a cameo in the multiverse of madness. They're zipping through dimensions and they see the Ghost Rider.
You know what?
Pay off those island taxes.
He would be an amazing nightmare.
Given the way his career has been going, I think he is an amazing nightmare. Anyway,
and we're all for it.
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah, we know he wasn't the MCU with Sony. I get it. But at least we got a good Neville Dean Taylor out of it.
It is now in the MCU with the multiverse. You might see a portal open, then Nicolas Cage comes out like, "Hey man!"
Spider-Man wasn't MCU either until it was.
Who's Ghost Rider is on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They did do a version of Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
What they do there?
I don't think it was Johnny Blaze. I think it was.
He was.
It was the other character.
He was like the 1940s.
He was the Noir Spider. He was Spider Noir.
Spider Noir.
I got to watch that movie again. Okay, we are getting close to an hour here, guys. So
what?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Wow.
Time flies. And I appreciate not only you guys, but also everyone in the chat. This has been a fire show, as the kids say, the Utes. But
Wow.
anything that we haven't covered any glaring omissions that we should talk about?
I was a little confused, as I often get.
You first,
I was a little confused, as I often get, about the doohickey that they had to charge.
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about? I mean, I know that it was
a gag.
Yeah, I guess
McGuffin. That's
McGuffin
McGuffin device.
It's just that, like, he had it on him, and I guess that's one of the reasons why, she wanted to stick with him, because of that device, and she wanted to get it charged. And I did like that scene where they kind of crept up in that kind of, old hermit lady kind of thing. I
wasn't thrilled with that.
That was kind of fun. But I was just kind of like, okay, what's this about? What's this little?
Yeah, that's the device they use to open up the portals. I mean,
Okay.
so before you never really saw it.
I thought it was an Amazon Fire Stick.
The fact that Amazon it ran out of power. Mostly, I get the feeling that to drive the plot and give them something. We show how Loki hid it, but she knew he still had it somewhere. It wasn't like just in another dimension, which we find out later was true because he landed on it, which makes you wonder, where the hell did he keep the Tesseract? It had to chafe because, if it had to be somewhere, but
he put it in the Tesseract.
That's right.
Testicle crack.
I like the Deus Ex device. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think she didn't even need that thing. I think she was just messing with him. They didn't need that thing to open the portals.
They could have charged it with the electricity that was flowing between them and that little drinking steam. Yes,
the way the whole magic works is just kind of confusing.
Yeah. So speaking of confusing, Don, what was your question that you wanted us to talk about?
I'll pose a question to the dais here. We have obviously a very Loki and Shaloki centric episode. Any guesses as to what the other side of the TVA is doing right now for this last 37 minutes and day and a half of whatever they're doing? Like, what are they scrambling to do as we speak? Because if I remember correctly from the last one, there are several fractures in the timeline, not just this one little one where they're hopping on. Like, how much of all hell is breaking loose is happening away from this little comet planet?
I'm pretty sure that day and a half was spent. They sent agents to try and squash down as many of those, errant timelines as possible. And the rest of it is just Owen Wilson being berated by Gugu Mbatha-Raw in that giant courtroom.
Okay.
Give me more Gugu.
Really?
Here, I still don't think there's actually timekeepers.
I'm with you too.
Didn't they say that in the episode that there aren't? I thought they did.
I don't know if they did in this episode, but I just get the feeling and we've all watched a lot of sci-fi, the way the TVA and the agents refer to them as, they're doing these great things. Are they really, or is that just whatever monitor or email you got from the timekeeper telling you? You know what I mean? I really do not think, and I think Loki does too. I think Loki, because in the last two episodes, not so much this one because he was around Sylvie, but the last two episodes, he drops multiple times. He's like, 3 reptilian guys built all this. He is not buying that these timekeepers, and I think that's what's driving him, is he not so much that he just wants to take over the TVA, but also he's curious who the hell's actually behind this, and why didn't he think of this? Whatever they actually did.
And especially why hadn't he have heard of them?
Right.
I mean, he's an Asgardian god of mischief. Why hasn't he heard of these guys?
Well, it's the same reason. It's possibly the same reason that we haven't heard of whatever alien civilizations are, 17 galaxies away from us right now. It's just like out of
monitoring
the
us.
Very possibly on this live stream. Hey, everybody. No, Mark, you bring up a good point. I think Loki, this reveals another dark side to him, is that he's a speciesist. He's like, what? Three giant lizards built this. Yeah. What, giant lizards aren't people too? Yeah. So I think.
He must get real mad when he watches Star Wars. Like, all
right. All the way. That's what he is.
No, but I think, we're getting very close, I think, to figuring out the mystery of the TVA. Also, we talked a little bit earlier in the episode about how when Sylvie gets to the TVA, she's like just pouring through those guards like a knife through butter. And it's just super easy, like sub stormtrooper level defense.
Yeah,
I wonder if that is also part of the machinations of the time, if there are timekeepers, or if there's somebody controlling this grand scheme. Maybe that was just the sloppy diversion enough to get them to go back onto this other planet to stall for time for some other reason. Well, like she thought she was being she was going to go and barge into this room, and she was defeated by something else, but it was just always going to be she was always going to be stopped by something.
And what throws me off is the whole hint. I told them where they are. The gold elevator. That was all it was. Gold elevator. You're like, how many how many had gold door, and she takes her there, which I don't think it's timekeepers, but whoever's actually manipulating all of this. And I'm with you guys. Possibly Loki's just trapped inside his own brain, and he traveled with the Tesseract, and somebody grabbed him, and they're screwing with his brain, and kind of a WandaVision thing. That just seemed like such an easy plant of a hint that it goes along with, well, the timekeepers are doing stuff. They can't talk to you right now. The same thing is they've indoctrinated and planted this idea that, oh yeah, they live in the big tower with the golden elevator when they haven't. She thinks she's given them up, but she hasn't really, because you think about it, you're like, that's it. That the gold elevator, which only has 2 guards in front of it too, might add. That's where you think the timekeepers really are,
Yeah, I can't wait till this is gonna sound terrible. I can't wait till this is all over, just so I understand what's happening. Now we're gonna close it out with a couple of, let's see. Looks like duplicated comments. Okay, so I feel as though the timekeepers revelation is going to be quite a twist in the vein of the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. Quite possible they might not exist. Could it be that what if there's one timekeeper and it's Ben Kingsley?
That would be awesome.
Sir Ben Kingsley. No, there's all sorts of possibilities there. I think I would love it if, going back to the idea of there is no twist, yes, there are just 3 giant lizard timekeepers pulling all the strings, because we all think, or it's Mephisto. Anyway, guys, thank you so much.
There's one more comment that's golden.
Oh, missed it. Okay. Good job, Ian, Mike, Mark, David, Don. Try harder.
Wow.
Thank you, Ross.
I can't wait for the next episode of the Hissy Fit. Wow, this is going to be on fire.
The Fissy Hit.
All right. Well, thank you, Will and Mr. Mosby and Sajiwa. And this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. Once again, we've got David Fowley of Keeping It Real, Mark Krawczyk from the Spoiler Room, Don Shanahan of Too Many Things to Mention, Mike Crowley of YPA Reviews, and me, Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. Mr. Mosby. We've got, Sajiwa, some closing comments. Good show. Thank you. And Mr. Mosby, great stream, guys. Great.
We went from good to great pretty fast right there.
Well, yes, but 2 different perspectives, right? Sajiwa doesn't think as highly of us as Mr. Mosby, and I can, right. I'm a little hurt, but it's okay. Critic. No, I got to say, I think part of the reason this has been such a great stream is because we've gotten all this this participation in the comments. This is wonderful stuff. I wish I could have everybody here with us, but that would be absolute chaos. But maybe someday. Yeah. Thank you guys for another awesome show. We'll be back next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central, for the Loki Midweek Mischief. What was that? Are you letting air out or something?
I don't know. That sounded like the 60s Star Trek, warning.
I know, right?
All right. Well, if you guys liked this show, if you're finding us, after we were live, picking up on the recording, please watch it. Give us a comment. What did you think of the episode? Do you have any fun theories we can talk about next week? If you do like the content, please like, subscribe, and follow all of my lovely and talented guests. Their info will be down in the description below. And until next Wednesday night, which is going to be a very special day, we will catch you then. Till then, Excelsior. That's what I'm going to end with the word of Stan the Man Lee. Excelsior, everybody. Okay. And now I'm going to actually